Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fate's Wide Wheel. I am your host, Sam Fain, and I am here with another quick kick, already breaking format. Last time out with our first quick kick, we talked about Chang Cheh's The Assassin from Shaw Brothers as a part of the Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 1 box set from Shout Factory, starring Jimmy Wang Yu. But we're going to drift away from the Shaw Brothers films already because it's that time of the year, and I figure a little holiday classic might be fun. So we're going to be talking about the Holly and the Ivy, which is a British film actually from 1952, based on a play of the same name from 1950 by Wynyard Brown. I first came upon this film, I think, about 2 years ago. And last year, when I was watching it, I thought, oh, it would be fun to do an episode on that movie. But I was in the midst of a run of The Christmas Carol. I was playing Scrooge at the time. It was, that was my life. So I didn't really have time to shoot anything, and I thought now would be the perfect opportunity to do that. So I'm really excited to talk about this movie because I think it is a underrated classic of the holiday season. It's one that's not necessarily viewed everywhere all the time. There are probably a lot of you out there that have never even heard of it. But for those of you that have, or those of you that have seen it, I'm sure you'll agree that this is a movie that deserves to be seen more. It's not a perfect film by any stretch, and I think that it definitely shows the sometimes weaknesses of a translation of a play to a film, a stage work to a film. However, I think wrapped up in all of it really is a superb script that transcends the genres, or the mediums rather, and some incredibly moving performances. I think Ralph Richardson in particular is just stellar in this movie, and the arc of the character, the life that he breathes into the character, and the final moments with the character and his children is just brilliant, and veers near heartbreak at times, but ends up being heartwarming instead, and it's quite lovely. The rest of the cast is filled out by Celia Johnson, Margaret Leighton, who are both wonderful in their roles as Jenny Gregory and Margaret Gregory. And then we get a very young Denholm Elliott, who most of you might know from films like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, for instance, or Raiders of the Lost Ark for that matter, as Michael or Mick Gregory. We also get John Gregson as David Peterson, sort of the beau of Celia Johnson's Jenny Gregory character. Hugh Williams playing Lieutenant Colonel Richard Wyndham. Margaret Houston as Aunt Lydia. Maureen Delaney as Aunt Bridget. And an appearance from future First Doctor from Doctor Who, William Hartnell as the company Sergeant Major. Just a wonderful cast of actors who are superb in their roles. There's really not a false moment among them. And I'm in particular, Margaret Leighton as Margaret Gregory is just stellar. What a wonderful character. What a character that could probably be viewed, especially in the early 50s, as fairly controversial, certainly from, I think, a North American audience. However, in the UK, I would imagine that there were a lot of people that really understood and sympathized and empathized with that character's plight a great deal in the post-war era. The war is a character in this film, undoubtedly, and I think the fallout from World War II is something that all of these characters feel. There's a sense of mourning and grief and loss that carries through all of these characters, both directly and indirectly. The loss of the mother and wife prior to the beginning of the play. I won't spoil it for you, but Margaret Gregory, Margaret Leighton's character, she has a past which is filled with grief and mourning, and the circumstances of her current life are kind of dictated on that, and the relationship or lack thereof that she has with her father and how that all plays out is quite magnificent. And the filmmaking itself is interesting because the early moments of the film are film, like the way it's directed, the way that it's shot, the dialogue, everything about it. And I can only imagine, I've not actually read the theatrical script, but I can only imagine that these were scenes that were created for the film. Then when we transition from that into scenes that seem to be much more theatrical in nature and seem to be something from a play script, it does feel a little disjointed, but only a little. And I think, again, you have an incredibly capable cast that just keeps you riveted, and a really wonderful and touching script. I mean, the script itself is fantastic. There's no doubt about that. The film was shot at Shepperton Studios outside London, with sets designed by Vincent Corda. And of course, Vincent Corda had quite the career when it came to working in film. He actually won an Academy Award for art direction for The Thief of Baghdad in 1940. He would also work on other Oscar-nominated films, including That Hamilton Woman, Jungle Book, and The Longest Day. He was the youngest brother of Alexander and Zoltan Korda, who, of course, were the famous Korda brothers who had Korda Films and produced a number of incredible films. The Four Feathers has always been a favorite of mine. But the look of the film is brilliant, and it feels like the holiday season. You know, the film is one of those movies that I love to watch because I can feel the nip in the air. I can see the snow blanketing the countryside, even if it's 40 degrees and there's no snow. Although, however, in Chicagoland right now it's 20 degrees and there's about 6 inches of snow on the ground. But that's neither here nor there. So it definitely is an evocative film as far as the feel goes, and ultimately it just leaves me with the feeling of like, this is a great Christmas movie that doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas movie. And I think that that's kind of one of the hallmarks of a lot of great films that are set at the holidays. There are some films that are great Christmas movies because they are Christmas movies, right? Christmas Story is a great example of that. But I would go so far as to argue that It's a Wonderful Life, for instance, doesn't have to be a Christmas movie. It's just a great movie that happens to take place around Christmas. But it is a Christmas film. I'm not trying to start a dialogue about what is or isn't a Christmas movie. Anyway, Holly and the Ivy is just a great film. I really enjoy it. As far as the technical merits on this Kino Lorber Blu-ray, which is pretty much the only way to get the film in North America right now, it looks great. Of course, there's some wobbles, there's some specs, there's some flex. The source material, over 70 years old, but they've done an admirable job with it. It looks really good. I highly recommend just checking it out for the visuals alone. And we also get an audio commentary by film historian Jeremy Arnold. Very well done commentary, very informative track, and he's certainly someone who seems to have a great deal of reverence for the film and enjoys the film, and I appreciated his comments. So definitely worth checking out. You can actually pick this up on sale right now. If you're just looking to view the film, however, and not interested in picking up the Blu-ray, you can also stream this movie on Canopy, which if you have a library card, most likely you can sign up for free and watch this movie 100% for free on Canopy. So I highly recommend that as well. So there you have it. Again, already off the theme on Quick Kicks. We're talking about The Holly and the Ivy, a British film from 1952. It gets a high recommendation from me. I hope you'll enjoy it too. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Stay safe out there. Happy holidays, and always, always leap responsibly.